I got made fun of. And the fact that I got made fun of is not like, oh, poor me, I got made fun of. It was like, thank God I got made fun of, because it made me really dig my heels in deep and take it more
Yeah.
seriously. Every time somebody threw a dig at me, it was like the best thing that could have happened.
As a vegan, do you ever feel like you're living in a parallel universe, aware of things that many others don't even seem to notice, let alone acknowledge? I'm Chrissy Benson, host of the Vegan Posse podcast. We talk with vegans from around the globe who, like you, are living lives of integrity and compassion with an eye toward justice. Through their personal stories, you'll come to see that you're not an outlier. In fact, you're part of an entire posse of individuals who aren't just keeping the peace, they're creating it through their food choices and beyond. You won't be saddling up, but you're in for the ride of your life. Welcome to the Vegan Posse. Hey Posse, I'm Chrissy Benson, host of the Vegan Posse, bringing vegans together to help animals everywhere. I'm going to keep this short because, as you may be able to tell, I'm a little under the weather, but I did not want to delay in bringing this amazing episode to you. Just a few things before I launch in. First, if you haven't yet bought the vegan women's fiction classic, Marrying Myself by me, Christine Melanie Benson, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and snag a copy on Amazon or from my website, ChristineMelanieBenson.com. If you'd like a consultation for personal coaching, you can email me directly at christinembenson@gmail.com. And finally, if you have questions or comments, or even just topic suggestions for our monthly series, Posse Talk with my friend and colleague, Dr. Jen Hawk, email those to veganposse.email@gmail.com. And now for this week's episode featuring Tara Punzone and Gene Stone. Tara is the creator of an Italian plant-based restaurant called Pura Vita in Los Angeles. And she and best-selling author Gene Stone recently co-wrote a cookbook called Vegana Italiana. They've got a really, really cool and interesting story, and I hope you enjoy this conversation. Gene and Tara, welcome to the Vegan Posse. Are you guys ready for the ride of your life?
Yeah. Always ready.
I sense some hesitation, which is fair. I mean, that's fair. Yes, you don't know what you're in for ever on the Posse. So, all right. Well, I want to hear from both of you, but why don't we start with some individual questions? And Tara, I'm going to start with you, if that works.
Sure.
So my understanding is that you started thinking about veganism at a very, very young age. How did that happen?
Yeah, I was pretty young. I always really loved animals when I was a kid, and had a hard time eating things that were very obviously animal, like if something was on a bone or that type of thing. But then I had a teacher who showed the class a video of a slaughterhouse, and all the things that you never make the connection on, even some adults don't make that connection, had become very clear to me in that 10-minute video that we watched. So I threw my lunch away, and that day became vegetarian, not understanding the depth that it would go into in the following years. But basically, I just started to read everything that there was about, animal agriculture. And it took me maybe about 2 years to be completely vegan. But by the time I was around 12.
Oh, that is amazing. So you were 10. So what would that be? Maybe third grade? Second grade?
Fifth grade.
Fifth grade. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what class was it that you had the teacher show that video?
So we had this teacher, and she was, in fifth grade, you don't really switch classes or whatever. So she was just our teacher, but she was predominantly a science teacher, and she was also a little batty. I think she might have, been controversial in many ways, but she was vegetarian, and she felt it necessary to show the class this video. And I don't know that it affected anybody else the way that it affected me, but I am extremely grateful that she made that decision that day because it changed my whole life.
That's fascinating. I was going to ask you if other of your classmates had the same reaction.
I don't think so. I don't think I really liked school. I think people weren't really paying attention, but I was paying
Yeah.
attention, and especially when I saw that, it was, profoundly. I mean, it was just horrific in every possible way, as you know, and
That's
especially as a little
wild.
kid.
Yeah. Yeah. So, side question. I too am a native New Yorker. Where in New York did you grow up?
Mainly in Long Island. So we're originally from Brooklyn, but the
Yeah.
area we lived in was a little dodgy. So my parents wanted me to go to a nice school, so we moved to Oyster Bay, Long Island.
Long Island.
Long
Yeah.
Island.
Yeah.
And I say
Yeah.
it like that because all the stereotypes really are accurate.
I know, right. Right. That's
Where did
awesome.
you grow up?
I grew up, well, I was born in New York City. I was born in Staten Island and then lived there for the first few years of my life and then grew up mostly in Putnam County, New York, a
Oh,
town
okay.
called Brewster. That was like a commuter town. So my dad
Yeah,
took the
yeah, I know
train into
Brewster.
New York City. He worked in the city. Yeah.
Nice. That's why
Yep.
you don't have a
And
heavy Staten Island accent. Those are pretty
yeah,
heavy.
and then I ended up moving to New York City as an adult as well. That's where I lived prior to my current home in Nashville. So,
Nice.
yeah. So when you made this change, when you went vegetarian and then vegan, how did that go over with your family?
Well, like I write about it in the book because basically I went home that day and very nervously sat my parents down at the kitchen table to tell them about this experience, and that it really made me feel a lot of ways that I was not interested in ever feeling again. So, that I was going to stop, that was it. I was never going to eat meat again. And they were like, my parents are very, very supportive. I have really wonderful parents, but their concern, I think, was what they were supposed to do, to support me and how they were supposed to cook and all this. But I also think that they assumed it was going to be very short lived. I mean, I was a little kid, so I don't think they were super concerned until like a couple weeks went by and they were like, oh, she's not giving this up. This is, this is for real. So at that point, they were just like, you know, we're going to make, if there's meat involved in a meal, usually dinner, then that would be the one thing, and everything else at the table would be vegetarian, so that we're all eating the same thing, and I could just eliminate that one item.
That's amazing to me. Are you an only child?
No,
And
no,
so
and my
you're
brother
go
is the
ahead.
opposite of me in every possible way.
That sounds
We're not on the same
challenging.
page, but we're also 13 years apart, so it's a little
Oh wow.
easier
Yeah.
to make individual decisions because at that point he wasn't even living, he was already married and,
Okay.
living someplace else. So
Fascinating.
he had no say.
So you started veganizing some of your family's traditional Italian recipes. Yeah, what had you always enjoyed cooking and just messing around in the kitchen?
Yeah, I mean, when my family realized that I was serious and that I was not going to fall off this idea, and also when it became more things like when you eliminate eggs and then you eliminate dairy, then they're like, okay, we don't really know what we're supposed to do. So my family, both my parents cook. My mother and father are both excellent cooks. All of my grandparents were cooks by profession. So
Oh,
cooking was like something that was just part of our daily life. It was part of all of our lives in a very serious and fun way. But they just wanted to make sure they were doing the right thing. So they asked me to be in the kitchen with them when they were cooking, particularly my
oh,
mom wanted
okay.
me to
That
be in the
makes
kitchen so
sense.
she wouldn't make any mistakes or do something that I didn't want or whatever as she was learning. And then because I was there with her, I was learning how to cook. So that was like the beginning of my cooking education. And that's why I love being in the kitchen because I enjoyed being in the kitchen with my family so much. So it just carried on to, other people as well. So
Yeah, so did they end up going vegan themselves?
no,
No. Okay.
Absolutely not.
Not even close. Okay.
Not even close. It definitely altered the way that they ate. Like, I think they ate a lot less of the things that they would have otherwise been eating.
Yeah.
But they would never say, I am eliminating this thing. I mean, actually, that's not true. My mom doesn't eat red meat, whatever that means.
Right.
And that was before I ever even made a decision to change anything. That had nothing to do with me. So, but it
Hmm.
does make things easier.
Yeah. So what was like as a kid when you just started kind of, playing around with some of these recipes, what was maybe one of the biggest accomplishments that you had in the kitchen?
Well, I always reference the cashew ricotta because it goes in so many recipes. And the first main dish that I was trying to recreate that, of my family's was lasagna. But I could never get the cheese part right because the texture was wrong in many ways and all different variations that I tried. So once I nailed that down, which was like way late, I was already like 20 by that point. Um, that's when everything started to come together and I realized that I could really make some interesting vegan versions of these dishes because was the thing that was holding me back the whole time. So I
Hmm.
think that was the breakthrough.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's so interesting. And along the way, your friends, your peers, just the people you knew, did any of them kind of jump on board, or what did they think of this interest of yours?
Well, growing up, I was just made fun of constantly, and mainly by my brother and his group of friends. But my friends didn't understand it; they thought it was weird. But it was more like my friends' parents that had a hard time with it. Like the moms would call my mom and say, like, yeah, maybe your daughter has an eating disorder. She never eats at our house, and my mom had to constantly explain, like, she can't eat the food that you're serving, so she eats before she leaves. And it was just like a constant explanation from my mom. My poor mom was always just trying to defend me and explain things to everybody.
Wow.
But no, none of my friends went vegan until like way later in life, like way, way, way later, like in our, late 20s, 30s even. So it took a long time to make that impact on anybody, but at least it happened at some point.
No, that's I mean that's something. It's like we vegans we kind of take what we can get, Yeah. All right. Well, Jean, I'll shift gears to you a little bit. So you are a writer, an
Yeah.
author. You've got more than 50 books to your credit, which blows my mind. I've got a single published novel to my name, so I'm really looking to you and holding your prolificity in very very high regard. Um, did you always enjoy writing? How did you come to writing and veganism as well? And when did those two intersect?
Well, I was an English major. I went to graduate school to get a PhD. Didn't think I was going to be an academic, so I dropped out. But I ended up getting a job in publishing. So I was a book editor, then I was a magazine editor, and then I was a newspaper editor. And then I finally got fired from my last job. And I thought at the age of like 30 something, um, I always wanted to be a writer. And since nobody was going to hire me at the moment, I started writing. And then I realized that I wasn't that good a writer. I was a really good editor, and there was a compromise I could make, which was to be a ghostwriter. So I started writing books for other people, and that sort of became my life. I have written a lot of books under my own name, but I really do like working with people like Tara and writing books for them because there are a lot of people who have great things they want to say, but they don't necessarily have the ability to write or, in Tara's case, the time to write the book. So yeah, and then I have that sort of personality that once I start to do something, I do a lot of it. you know, I jump in. So I jumped in, and it's 50 books later, and I'm still going. Um,
Yeah, no, it's so interesting because since by the nature of the type of ghostwriting that you do a lot of, obviously it seems that you're kind of under the radar in some ways. But I had, I had the thought just in my years of seeing all these prominent vegans publish books that are quite well written, just thinking, wow, all these people also happen to be good writers. Like, how does that happen? And then it was funny because I noticed, oh, a lot of them have you in common.
Yeah, I've written
So
a lot
what's
of those books.
so what's it like, finding a tone and just a vibe that's authentic to the people that you work with?
Well, that's a great question. A lot of really good writers can't be ghostwriters because you have to give up your ego and you have to write in the voice of the person who you're working with. So if you have a strong voice, it doesn't work. Or if you have a big ego, it doesn't work. You really have to submit yourself to the other person and try to really capture who they are. If I'm doing a good job, I'd like to think that other people could read the book and go, well, why did you need him? This sounds just like you. But the fact is, most people really have a difficulty writing their own voice. Most people, when they try to write, they stilted or it's awkward or they're just not doing it right. So what I try to do is spend time with everybody I work with in the beginning. And then once I have the voice down, we end up working on the phone, and then it's a back and forth. Although everybody's different. There are some people who, frankly, are very easy to work with, like Tara, who was a joy. And there's some people who are really difficult to work with, and it was horrible. I'd like to
Like
think
no one you'll name. Yeah.
no names here. But I like to think I'm a good judge of character. But when you ghostwrite a book, you end up spending a lot of time with that person. It's like a relationship. And so you often discover they're not who you thought they were.
That's, very interesting.
Now, in Tara's case, I got this email from her saying, I got this email saying, I'm writing a book and your name was recommended. And as it turned out, I lived 3 blocks from Pura Vita, the restaurant. And I love it. It's a wonderful place. But I thought to myself, okay, she's a chef, and women chefs, it's really hard to be a woman chef. It's a man's world. She's going to be tough. And she's from Queens, Brooklyn, Long Island, someplace. She's going to be difficult. And she's Italian. She's going to be a monster. So I thought, but what the hell? I'll go over there.
Not one for stereotypes, are you?
Not at all. But I went over there. And
they're usually true, though.
It took me 5 minutes to realize that this was like the nicest person I've ever met in my life. And within 10 minutes, I decided I would do the book. And within 15 minutes, I was like, this is going to be great.
Had you eaten at Pura Vita before?
Oh, yeah. All the time.
Yeah.
No,
it was almost like a strangely perfect situation. Yeah. I felt like I was nervous. It was like too good to be true, And if I may chime in, Jean, what you just said earlier about that you like to think that you've done such a good job that a person would say, what did you need him for? I've had people literally say that to me, like, what did you need him for? And I'm like, are you kidding me? First of all, this book would never have happened without him because I can't barely write an email because I'm so in my head. There's so much stuff going on all the time. So he really not only got my voice on point, but he also motivated me to make it happen, to stick to the plan and to, tell the story in a timely fashion and to make it, a reality, because otherwise I would have just had it. I would still just be an idea in my head.
That's it sounds like it really was meant to be and the stars aligned, serendipity. Yeah. Vegan, the luck of the vegans. I like to say it's the luck of the vegans.
Usually when I'm working with people, very often we have disagreements or things come up, or it can be really tough. With Tara, I don't think we ever had even a disagreement. I don't think we ever had a moment where we even argued a little bit, or I can't remember any blip.
No, it was really a really amazing working relationship, and now just relationship in general, because I love this man.
Ah, well,
You do.
that's so sweet. Well, we vegans pretty much always get along. I mean, there are very few disagreements among vegans, right? I'm being
I
a
like
little
to think so,
sarcastic,
but
yeah.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to go there.
But Jean, I'm curious about your journey to veganism. Like, what was your vegan path?
Well, Tara has this lovely, heartwarming story of, being a child and seeing this wonderful, horrible film, and it changed her life. Mine is much more prosaic. I got a phone call from an agent saying, "Would you like to write a book with a firefighter in Texas who's vegan?" And I said, "No. I'm a gay New Yorker, and he's a tough Texas firefighter. We won't get along." And he said, "Well, just meet the guy." So we get on the
I would
phone.
think you'd be interested in working with a really handsome,
no, firefighter.
charismatic
Come on now.
As I said,
firefighter
I
from
was willing to get
Texas.
on the phone at least and talk to him. Anyway, this was Rip Esselstyn. Um,
Yes.
and uh, again, with Rip, like Tara, this doesn't always happen, but it happened with him too, where at the end of one phone call, we were great friends, and we wrote 3 books together. And so in order to do his first book, I thought, well, as I said before about jumping in, within a day, I thought, well, if I'm going to write a book with a vegan, I should be vegan. I should at least try it. And so I did. And it took, it was like, wow, this is, I can look an animal in the eye and say, I'll never eat you. And I feel good about the environment and I'm healthy. So it seemed like a no-brainer.
That's amazing. So how old were you when you just made that shift?
Like 130, I don't know. I mean, it was maybe 20 years ago, early early
Wow.
50s.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you just did it like that.
Yeah, it was. Well, I have to say that Rip was like, I don't know if you know Rip. He's like
I've met him. I've
yeah,
seen him speak. I don't know
yeah.
him, personally, but yes, I'm a
He's really
big
actually
fan.
he's really just a really big puppy dog. He's so enthusiastic, and so he would just call me up like 3 times a day. What are you eating? What are you doing? No, you can't have that. No, don't eat that. Eat this. Don't. So it was like having like the most enthusiastic coach in the world. So I think if everybody had Rip, I think that everybody would be vegan.
Totally.
And so Jean, when you went vegan, like, were there any particular foods or any stumbling blocks that you encountered, or did, Rip the coach just kind of tear those away?
No, there were a few stumbling blocks. I was always very fond of sushi, and I didn't tell him, but I did cheat a few times with sushi in those first few months. And cheese, Swiss cheese is one of my very favorite foods. And there really isn't a vegan Swiss cheese yet that's any good, I
Oh,
think.
that's so true.
Yeah, it is,
Interesting.
unfortunately. I
Yeah.
love Swiss cheese. There's just something about the culture and the texture to it. But
Hmm.
yeah, so I've had some blips, but for the most part, and it's since I go out to eat sometimes, you never really know. I'm not 100% vegan. My home is 100% vegan. The food I bring here is 100% vegan, but I'm sure there are times where I've had something in my food that wasn't. And
Right. You're vegan by intention, but you live
yeah,
in the world we live in.
I
Yes. And you
really
don't.
think I
Yeah.
don't want to be that vegan who sends everything back or creates problems for people. I'd like to think all of us can be role models in fairness and kindness. And if somebody makes a mistake, I don't want to bite their arm off. I want to tell them, this
Well,
is
that wouldn't be vegan, right?
right, exactly. Well, it would if I ate it. I mean,
I have a
Yeah.
slightly different perspective because the 1 or 2 times that something has been, whether it be accidentally or otherwise, slipped into my food, it makes me sick. Maybe because I was a kid when I
yeah.
changed my eating, but like it just makes me sick within like 20, 30 minutes.
You mean
So I
physically
don't
sick?
feel as kind as Jean feels about it. I'm like,
Right.
no, I'm telling you the situation, get it right. And I'm sorry, but I do that for a living. So I know I have to get it right. You can get it right too.
Yeah. By the way, I don't mean if there's meat. I'm not going to eat meat. But if
No, but like butter or something.
really, so I don't know. Well, again, maybe
Well, I think
because
I was always lactose intolerant, having
Mm.
nothing to do with being vegan.
uh,
But, as a kid, like I would eat ice cream like, like it was my job. and then I'd be in the bathroom for like 4 hours.
Oh,
Mm,
Not to be gross, but like, but I just, who cared? I was a kid and I wanted to eat ice cream. I didn't,
mm,
I wasn't like overthinking it.
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I
So
think there really is that balance that we always have to walk, and we definitely don't do it perfectly between, politeness, wanting vegans to present as, people who are enjoyable to be around and kind and,
Exactly.
pleasant, and at the same time being people of principle, so
Yep.
that we are taken seriously. Like, this isn't just a preference or, a request. This is a moral position, and I'm not going to backtrack just because, you got confused or something. Like, sorry, like, I'm not going to blame you or judge you, but that's also not acceptable when it comes
right.
to what I'm putting in my body. So yeah, it's a fine line. Yeah. And I think there are merits and arguments to be made for all approaches, for the really in your face demanding vegans
Mhm.
and the really sweet, like, oh, that's okay, I'll just pick the cheese shreds off my salad.
I'm a huge picker. There's so many, I'll be like just investigating the whole salad. Like, oh, there's another piece of cheese down there. I got to get it.
Right, right. So Tara, you've got a restaurant in West Hollywood called Pura Italiana. Um,
Pura
or
Vita.
Pura Vita. Getting the restaurant confused with the name of the cookbook. But take us down the path of opening that restaurant, and just from the beginning, like your professional path in the kitchen and restaurants.
Um, well, my career started in New York, and I really learned, honed my skills in New York in the kitchen, and how to run a kitchen, how to create recipes, how to, the obvious things,
And
and
were
had
you
wonderful.
cooking entirely vegan at that point, or were you?
Always. I would never. I would just do something else if I had to touch meat. I mean, that's just not my world that I live in at all.
Yeah, yeah, because I can see some chefs, probably making the argument, well, I, needed to go to culinary school,
I
and they're no
didn't for that reason
fascinating. Yeah,
because
yeah.
it was mandatory, and I was just not. I went to art school. I have a master's degree in fine art. I didn't have to harm anybody there. it was it was a kinder education. Um, but I already learned how to cook from my family. What I needed to learn was how to operate in a commercial kitchen. How a commercial kitchen works, how you manage a commercial, how you move around, how you manage one eventually. And you don't learn that in culinary school. You learn that in real life situations. So that was my experience in New York. It was wonderful. And then I ended up moving to LA, and I was working for one of the premier vegan restaurants in LA that back then had 3 locations. And then we ended up opening one in the airport, which was very interesting.
I
Um,
bet.
I
Yeah.
don't recommend it. But it was an experience. And what I learned working at that place, I was there for a little over 5 years in a multi-unit restaurant. My title was culinary director. So what I really learned was about business. I learned about how to run a business, how to operate, how to have a multi-unit situation, how to manage that many people, how to deal with all the food costs for that level of, and it just was super helpful because by the end of it, I felt I was ready to finally do my own thing,
Had
because I
that been your
really need to learn.
vision this whole time?
Oh, totally. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
knew what
Okay.
I was going to do one day. I mean, it did seem like a dream, like maybe it would never happen and I would just keep working for somebody. But in the back of my mind, that was the plan all along. When it actually happened, it did feel like very surreal. Like it was hard to believe that it was possible to like actually open your own restaurant in Los Angeles. It's like Los Angeles and New York are the 2 biggest cities in the States, and it's not easy.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was living in a dream. But thankfully, everybody showed up. So It
Yeah,
was a
I
really
mean,
good, it was a positive experience. I really have to say I didn't have any heartache in the beginning until COVID. Then that changed lots of things.
first, okay, pre-COVID, how did you come up with the name and just the whole concept of the place?
So many years ago, I went to Costa Rica several times, fell in love with this country and their whole sort of agenda, which is pure life. Like, and they say Pura Vida to each other for every greeting. Hello, goodbye, what's up, how
Mm.
are you? As a wishing, as you're walking away, whatever it is, they just say
Huh.
this, statement to each other. And it's very, I don't know, it just felt like a beautiful thing. And I'm talking about a long time
Mm.
ago. And so at some point after going there a couple of times, I got Pura Vida, but in Spanish, tattooed on my arms. And then when it came time to open the idea is one day I kind of want to be able to have a restaurant there in that country. So I think it was like a mantra, sort of like
That's so
a
cool.
reminder of what the
Hmm.
end goal is. But of course, I had to change it to be Italian spelling because it's an Italian restaurant, so it's a little different
Okay.
than.
That makes sense. Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. Do you
But it
speak
means the same thing
Spanish?
in both languages. So,
Do you speak Spanish?
kitchen Spanish,
Okay. How about
yeah.
Italian? Do you speak Italian?
I spoke enough of it when I lived there I spoke enough of it to get by, but I don't hear it here. So
Yeah.
it's difficult to hold on to. And what I end up doing when my family calls from Calabria because they don't speak any English, and also they don't even speak Italian because they speak a dialect. It's so nerve wracking because I end up saying things in Spanish because I can't because I just put the two languages together. I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that.
Language is not my strongest subject, but I do my best.
Yeah. So I mean, how did you come up with the menu? Like what were the biggest challenges and who did you think would, patronize the restaurant?
The menu was something that I literally had been writing for years. I would just make notes in my computer. Like I had this like fake menu thing that wasn't called Pura Vita at that point. It was just like Tara's, menu of ideas that I was had come up with and dishes that I had worked on over, just over the years. And by the time it came to actually creating a real menu for the real restaurant, the biggest challenge was editing, deciding which things I would actually begin with and which things needed to be, on the chopping block, so to speak, until further notice. So editing to me is always the biggest challenge because I have a lot of ideas
Right.
and in your fantastical brain you would think you could do all of them, but really you need to like, you know.
Right. And how much did things change from how you started off to, where it is now?
Oh, well, a lot because when we first opened, it was we didn't have the pizza oven. We didn't have the pizza side of the restaurant, so the focus was just pasta.
Mhm.
So it was a much smaller menu, basically just focused on pasta and vegetables and these types of things. And then we took over the next door restaurant and opened the pizzeria. Now it's all combined into one. So the menu is like more than twice the size it was when we first opened.
Wow. Wow. So you didn't edit it down. You edited it
I mean,
to
I
expand.
edited it down in the beginning, yes, and then
Yeah.
but I still have to edit because you could make it a scroll. I mean, we could have like a
Right.
hundred things on the menu if
Right.
you know.
Well, when I lived in New York City in my neighborhood in the East Village, there was this wonderful, iconic vegan restaurant called Angelica Kitchen. And right next door there was an Italian restaurant.
John's.
And yeah, exactly, John's. Yeah, and John's ended up adding a vegan menu, I'm sure because Angelica was right next door. And their
100%,
vegan
yeah.
menu was great. Of course, they were also serving, veal parmesan and
Yeah.
lots of animal flesh. But I
The
loved.
only thing I ever actually ate off the vegan menu at John's was a cannoli, and I have to say it was very good.
Yes, yes. Do you have vegan cannolis at your place?
They're not on the menu, but we do them for special occasions, and
Yeah.
they're very very difficult to make. from scratch, they take like a few days and a lot of space, and we don't have a lot of space, unfortunately. Our
Yeah.
kitchens are very small, so we are limited in that way.
Gotcha.
And the
That makes
focus is
sense.
making pasta, which also takes up a lot of space. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Jean, what did you eat at the restaurant? Or
Oh,
what have you eaten at the restaurant?
before I did that, were you in New York in the late 200s, like 2009, 2010?
Yes.
Do you
Yes.
remember a ice cream store called Stogo, vegan ice cream store?
Where was it?
Near Liquiteria and near Angelica's Kitchen.
Yeah, it was right in my neighborhood, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah, that
Yes.
was me.
That was you.
Yeah,
What do you
we,
mean it was you? That was your place?
yeah, me and three friends. We started that, but unfortunately, we were a little ahead of the vegan wave, and we weren't very good. The product was good. It was called Stogo, and it was a lot of fun. It lasted about a year, but unlike Tara, we were not very savvy business
That's
people.
amazing. What a fun project though.
You know, I lost money on it, and I totally don't regret it. I met a lot of really interesting people. I learned a lot. It was really great. I love that
What
little part of the East Village.
what street was that on Avenue A or where which
No,
street
that
was
was
it on?
on 10th and 2nd, maybe. It was around the
Okay.
corner from Angelica and Liquiteria, and that we were sort of a
Yes.
triumvirate of vegan possibilities.
Yeah, that was a great neighborhood to live in
Yeah.
as a vegan. I went New York when I moved or I went vegan in New York
Oh
and it
yeah.
was a great place to go vegan and
Yeah.
yeah, in that neighborhood in the East Village, I mean there were a zillion places,
so many things.
lots more opening up all the time,
Yeah. No,
also
it's
going
great.
out of business, but yeah, and the
Now that I'm
first
in, now that I'm in LA, Pura Vita is obviously my favorite, and I don't know. I pretty much love everything there. Weirdly, the thing I really do love the most, though, is her grilled ciabatta with her cheese. Um, it is. It's just. I can't even describe it. It's just so wonderful. I could eat it forever.
it sounds I don't even know exactly what that is. So it
Well,
sounds
that's actually
delicious.
what I was referencing before was the cashew ricotta that I originally
Oh,
created to put in lasagna. But at the restaurant we have it's just like a baked, like the cheese is baked in the center and then the grilled bread is around, just cheese and bread. It
Yeah,
was
but
like
amazing.
such a last minute thought. I can't even tell you. Like in the 11th hour, I was like, oh no, cheese and bread. I have to add cheese and bread.
cheese and bread is one of the best things you can eat. I grew up in
That's
grilled cheese
amazing,
sandwiches,
yeah.
and her cheese and bread is it's. I mean, cheese and bread is like doesn't even begin to describe what it really is. It's more like
Mm.
heaven and purity and joy.
I mean, it sounds amazing. I was perusing the menu and I love breakfast food, so I was just like, drooling over the brunch menu. Yeah, someday. Someday
Yeah,
I'll make
yeah,
it
you're
out
gonna have
there.
to make your way out here.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, so yeah, so how was that, being in the restaurant business, kind of did you feel, did you feel like you were making a difference in the food world, in the non-vegan world in terms of just helping people see that veganism doesn't mean deprivation, doesn't mean, low quality, you know,
Chickpeas and
basic
sprouts.
food. Yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah, I do feel like we make a difference, and I say that you know cautiously, but I think that in the neighborhood that the restaurant is in, West Hollywood, it's the most wonderful neighborhood in LA, in my opinion. It's a very diverse neighborhood, lots of different types of people, like everyone welcome, and there are also a lot of vegan restaurants in this neighborhood for whatever reason, but we don't advertise that we're vegan. Like the word vegan is not on the menu anywhere. I'm not trying to push that agenda on people.
Hmm.
And the style of the restaurant is just very like New York Italian restaurant. The
Hmm.
design of it, I tried to make it feel like a Brooklyn restaurant that was nostalgic to me.
Yeah.
So when people see us when they're walking by, they don't know what they're getting themselves into. And then they sit
Right.
down and they have a glass
Right.
of wine and they'll order something and they'll eat it. And it maybe takes them a few minutes to figure out that it's even vegetarian. Like they understand that it's vegetarian, but to figure out that the cheese is not real cheese and stuff like that. But by then they're already like, oh, but this is really good. So it eliminates that whole like stereotype of like, oh, it's a vegan restaurant. I don't want to eat in a vegan restaurant. I'll go someplace else. So we
Yep.
get them in, we draw them in, and then we work our magic, and then they come back and they're not vegan. They're
Yeah.
just local neighborhood people who found their comfort spot
Yeah.
where they can get nostalgic, really good Italian food that happens to be vegan.
Right,
That's
right, and
that was
I love
my
that. I mean, I've always
intention.
thought that, yeah, that eliminates the need for philosophical arguments or
Yeah,
scientific debates. If we can just get people eating and enjoying delicious vegan food, then, there's nothing more that needs to be said. Yeah. In fact,
I take people to the restaurant and I don't tell them it's vegan. And there are times I've just never told them.
right, right, right. Well, I had another chef on the show who, in fact, was the person who opened the first vegan sushi restaurant in New York City. I was living there at the time too, but his name was Guy. And he since then has gone on to open, a number of,
like a
gourmet
hundred of
vegan
them.
restaurants.
Yeah,
Pardon me?
a
I said
lot.
like 100 of them.
Yeah, like, yeah, and all different cuisines.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, some of them don't, I think, somewhere maybe in the language, it, explains that everything's plant-based, but yeah, I think he's of the same mindset of, we're aiming to draw everybody.
yeah.
What was it like during the COVID years?
Oh, I mean,
Did you have to close down?
we had to close down the inside of the restaurant, but people kept showing up and ordering their pasta and just sitting down on the sidewalk and eating it. It was really humbling because everybody just kept showing up. And
Oh,
thank God, because most places ended up closing and we didn't. And then the city of West Hollywood allowed us to build an enormous patio, like literally in the street of Santa Monica Boulevard, that
wow.
we had for 2 years. And it was awesome.
Yeah, there
But
really
then they made
was.
us take it down, which kind of really was
Why did they
horrible.
make
But
you take it down?
well, it was in Santa Monica Boulevard, which is like the busiest street in Los Angeles.
Oh,
So
it was like on the actual
on
road?
the street, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like we took up all the parking spots on in front of our storefront,
Oh,
all
that's
of them,
Well,
the
there were
whole block.
boundaries. There were boundaries. It wasn't like the
Of
car.
course, there were boundaries. Like we had a crash zone and we had all kinds of safety measures. Nobody, nothing ever happened, but it was difficult to get them to agree to allow us to build a permanent one once that came up, because that did come up and we wanted to do it, but they were like, yeah, you're in the street. So, we had to give it up. But if we didn't have that, I don't know that we would have survived that time. It definitely got us through a really weird and challenging time for everybody in the city. And I think that, a couple parts luck and a couple of parts, whatever it was, it just worked for us, thank God, and we got through it.
That's
So
amazing. That's a real testament to, your customer base and the loyalty that they
the
had to your
loyalty, I have to
food.
say, is it's overwhelming sometimes, because it's just
Mhm.
like people just keep the same people keep
Mm.
showing up year after year after year. I feel like I know these people my whole life at this point.
Mm.
It's awesome. And it's like my staff remains the same. I don't have a lot of turnover. So like everybody just knows everybody. And it's like a lot of times we just hear that it's cheers. It's their cheers,
Mm. Oh, that's
which is
beautiful.
really
Yeah.
amazing. So
And a lot of them, like, what percentage of your customer base would you say is vegan? Any idea?
um, maybe 15%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I
Not a
love
lot.
that. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
vegans that we know come all the time, of course. They bring
Right.
their family and friends that are not vegan, and it just spreads to people just show up that are not vegan. It's not like
Yeah.
There's not a lot of really authentic, good Italian restaurants in California that haven't been like Californiaized.
Oh,
Because while there's
interesting.
a lot of
Yeah.
Italian restaurants, they're like, you know, California Italian. Like they even call it that.
Mm,
And I'm trying to like, no, this is Italian food. Like I'm not trying to we don't have ranch for you to dip your pizza in. We will
right.
never have ketchup. We're not trying to do those American things. Of course there's some things that cross over because I am Italian American, but it's more
Yeah.
like the New York style Italian American than it is the
Yeah.
California
Yeah.
style of it. So
Yeah. That's
I think that
awesome.
that helps us a lot because I think people, particularly people from the East Coast, you know, absolutely not vegan or vegetarian by any means, but they just want that nostalgic taste that they're not getting in LA otherwise. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it works.
Yeah.
It also feels like a New York Italian restaurant. Tara's done a great job creating. It looks like something in 12th Street and 6th Avenue. Um, it's like the reds and dark lighting, and yeah, no, it very much does not feel like your typical California open air floor.
Right, right.
Oh,
Because, yeah, when I think of Italian ambiance, I don't think of California ambiance.
right.
Yeah. So,
No, it's
yeah,
not. It's like black and gray and brick,
No,
and it's like long and skinny railroad style.
right.
Now it's two long and skinny railroad styles, and we put a little archway to combine them. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it very intentionally feels like you're in Brooklyn. That's how
Yeah.
I wanted it to feel. And I was nervous to do that because I didn't know if that was going to resonate with anybody. But again, people showed up. Thank God they keep showing
Sure
up. So
enough. Yeah. Yeah.
and luckily, it seems like so much of LA is from New York anyway.
there are a lot of us here.
Yeah, a lot.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm
Yeah,
because
New York.
I've been to LA. I lived in San Francisco years and years ago and have visited LA, but it's been a while. The last time I was in LA, in fact, was for the Animal Liberation Conference.
Huh.
Or no, for the Animal Rights Conference. The Animal Liberation Conference is in Berkeley or was in Berkeley. But yeah, I did not go to your restaurant. So getting into your cookbook, when did that idea spark, or has that been another lifelong, plan, vision for you?
No, that wasn't a lifelong plan. Although my mother always told me I was going to write a book, and I was always like, "About what? What?" But I think she just had this idea that I have good stories to tell, so that would happen one day. But no, it was basically when we opened the restaurant and started to develop a regular crowd. Those regulars all immediately in the beginning just started asking me if I had a book. And, the answer was like, no, why would I have a book? Nobody knows who I am. I'm not like I'm not like that chef that like is going to sell a million books. But over the years, it became very clear that the book needed to happen. I mean, people were really very regularly asking for it. So I decided that I wanted to do it, but I at one point had 3 restaurants, and there was just no way that that was possible. So it took a long time to get to the point where I felt comfortable enough to, you know, miss the days of work and
Mm,
not be present in the restaurants, 6 days a week, and allow myself the time to take a step back and make a book happen.
right.
But like I
What are
said,
your
without
hours
Gene,
like?
it
What
would
are
never
your
happen.
hours like at the restaurants?
We open at noon. During the week, we open at noon and we close at 10. On the weekends, we open at 11 and we close at 11.
And so those are your hours personally as well?
No, not
Okay.
necessarily. I'm not, I don't get there in the morning. I usually get there like around now. And, oh, well, now that doesn't make sense to somebody who's listening. Around 1 o'clock. And, and then I stay till closing every night.
Wow. Wow. That sounds like a long day. I would think as a chef, like, is there any just ambivalence about sharing your, personal recipes with the world? Kind of disclosing your trade secrets?
Yeah, it was something that made me really nervous. And there were a few things that I intentionally left out of the book and received very unhappy mail because of it.
You mean
But
specific dishes that you serve at the restaurant?
yeah, Yeah, like the most popular ones. I left those out. Sorry, trying to keep a business going.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and no, I'm not going to email it to you personally because I can't tell you how many people are like, "Oh, just send it to my email." And I'm like, "Who are you?" I'm sorry, what? Um, but also it leaves room to make a second book if people want it that bad, you know. But yeah, of course, it's difficult to give away your secrets, but the whole motivation behind cooking at all, I mean, the whole idea for me is to share with my community my heritage, my traditions, the things that I grew up around. And a lot of those things were already vegan. And I want to make that very clear because I think a lot of people think about Italian food and they think it's impossible to make vegan Italian food. And yes, of course, cheese was a challenge and making meatballs was a challenge, totally. But the reality is that my family's from the south of Italy where, you know, everybody was poor. I'm not going to speak for today, but when my family came to this country, that was a very poor part of Italy. And the majority of what they were eating naturally was pasta, beans, local vegetables,
Mhm.
you know, that was vegan.
Right.
They don't use butter in the South. They don't, they usually cheese is like goes on once the dish is already prepared, if you
Mm.
want to add cheese.
Mm.
So it turned out that a lot of the things that my grandmother was making when I was a kid, I didn't have to change at all.
Wow.
And I love sharing that with people because I think that
Hmm.
that kind of breaks the stereotype of what it is that, you know, I'm actually doing. I'm not trying to change the cuisine. I'm trying to like highlight
Right.
how easy it is to be vegan naturally.
Right. Right. What were you mentioned the ricotta? Was there anything else that was particularly, challenging to veganize?
Yeah, I'm not a fake meat person. I never enjoyed eating meat in the first place, so I don't really feel the need to replace it. Except every good New York Italian mom, of course, the argument was my mother makes the best meatballs. That's it. That was the argument. And everybody thought they were right about their own mother. But of course, it was my mother that made the best ones, obviously. And so I did need to do some type of meatball. That was like the only, you know, meat replacement thing I wanted to do. So that was challenging.
Let me just interrupt because I got to say, those meatballs are amazing. And if I'm not having the bread and cheese, I'm having the spaghetti and meatballs, which sounds like, why would you have spaghetti and meatballs? Anybody could do that. But those meatballs are what they're lentils and mushrooms, and they're
Yeah.
incredible.
Oh my gosh, they sound so good. And that's what I was thinking too with regard to, sharing your recipes. Like, even if you reveal your secrets, in the form of a recipe, the really hard part is actually making the food, like preparing it. Anyone can just read a recipe, but, actually doing the work, there's never going to be any substitute for that. But so how did you come up with the meatballs?
I mean, really just trial and error. I was actually like, I had sort of created a version of it that I never wrote down or anything. I would just make sort of a, you know, lentil. But what happened, what really made me write the recipe was I have a chef friend who has a restaurant in Brooklyn, not a vegan restaurant. It's actually a Sardinian restaurant. And his boss, this was back when becoming vegan was cool for a minute, many years ago. um, his boss wanted him to make a vegetarian meatball, and so he flew him to LA to stay with me so that we could create a recipe for meatballs.
Oh, perfect.
And so I just started taking it more seriously because it was like somebody else was, you know, you have this like
Yeah.
big Italian man from Sardinia, you know, who like barely speaks English standing over you, like waiting for him to show him how to make it. And I'm like, well, I've never even really
That's
figured that out myself.
hilarious.
So the pressure is
That's
on.
hilarious. Wow. Wow. Wow.
So lots
Um,
of trial and error. They were a mess in the beginning, you know, like everything. I
right.
encourage people when they're cooking to make mistakes. Don't take yourself so seriously. Make mistakes. Sometimes you figure out the best version of something by making 10 mistakes first.
Mm-hmm.
and it shouldn't be such a stressful thing. I think it should be fun.
Right, right. And you're absolutely correct. Like things do turn out better when you take them less seriously and just kind of play around
Yeah.
and, are lighthearted about it. Yeah. Yeah. So, Jean, what was it like for you, collaborating on this cookbook?
That was great. As I said, you never really know what you're getting into, but once I decided that she wasn't a monster, I realized this was going to be fun. And again, I've never worked with somebody where we lived so close to each other.
Yeah, that's
Um,
hilarious.
um,
That
Yeah.
was really cool, actually. I
it turned out to be something I wish I could do. Now I'm looking around everybody in my neighborhood going, maybe I could write a book with him or her. It was so much easier because Tara's schedule is so busy that, I mean, if I'd lived in New York or so, I don't know what we would have done, but we literally could be like walk over in 5 minutes and get half an hour worth of work done. So it was, yeah, it all worked out really, really well.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, what was the hardest part on your end, as the collaborator and ghostwriter?
I don't think there, I guess, I don't know. I'm trying to think if there was a hardest part. I know this is sounding kind of silly. And believe me, I've had many books. I would say that at least half my books I've quit um, as a form of like, I can't take this anymore, but it's kind of faking it because I always know they're going to say, no, 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 I'll be better. I'll behave. I never had to fake quit with Tara.
So you didn't have to manipulate and,
No,
pull in
no,
some drama.
no,
Okay.
no. I mean,
Okay.
seriously, I know it, again, it just sounds silly,
There
but
was one challenge. I don't want to speak for you, but it was a challenge for me, and you pointed it out and helped me through it, which is that, I take for granted that I am in an environment where everybody in my environment knows how to cook. So when
right,
I'm,
right, right.
explaining a recipe, I'm like, oh, just da 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 da, like whatever, super simple terms. And Jean's like, huh? What? I
Yeah.
don't know what the hell that means. You need to explain yourself like very
Mm,
thoroughly. And
mm.
I wasn't doing that because I was just taking for granted, in my comfort zone. When I say that, the person I'm talking to knows what I'm talking about. But it was very helpful because he was the reader too. He was like,
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
don't know what
Yeah.
that thing is. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it. You have to explain yourself. And that was really helpful.
I've done a bunch of cookbooks, and that is actually something comes up all the time, which is that you really have to write a cookbook for, I just say it, for the dumbest person possible. You can't
Yeah.
say a
Yeah.
pinch of salt. You can't say a dash of paprika. You actually have to quantify, explain. If you do use a term like dash, you have to explain what dash means because a dash could mean boop to one person and thump to another.
Yeah. And I grew up like I said, I learned how to cook from my family. And I would be like, oh, well, how much, whatever, how much salt do you put in that, Ma? And she'd be like, oh, this much.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
And I knew what that meant.
Right. 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 You had your own language.
Yeah.
So, are there any recipes in the book that you don't serve at the restaurant?
Yes. A couple. Some of them will do as specials here and there, but some of them are just not things that we make. Like, for example, the stuffed artichoke, it's a whole artichoke. It's too big for an individual serving for anybody.
Hmm.
It takes a long time to make, and you're just going to need to buy the book and make it for yourself because it's worth it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
we'll never serve that in the restaurant. It's too much.
Right. Right. That's fair. Well, this is, yeah, it's been so fascinating. What it sounds like your cookbook really just fills a niche that, had been existing in the, the cookbook world, just in terms of, top notch, really thoughtful, sophisticated Italian cuisine. Um, what kind of responses have you gotten to the book?
So far, I've heard wonderful things. Everybody's loving it. Besides the recipes, though, there's also a lot of silly stories from my upbringing, and I think that helps to keep the vibe of the book. It helps to keep it interesting, but it also makes it light, because there was a lot of like, I got made fun of. And the fact that I got made fun of is not like, oh, poor me, I got made fun of. It was like, thank God I got made fun of, because it made me really dig my heels in deep and take it more
Yeah.
seriously. Every time somebody threw a dig at me, it was like the best thing that could have happened. But so those stories, I think, help make the book more interesting and approachable. So it's not just, you're just reading recipes and it's like cut and dry.
And
And there's
again,
pictures
it
of my
just,
family and stuff. And so
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
fun.
What did your brother think of the book?
He loves it. I throw him under the bus a bunch, but he deserves
Deservedly
it.
so,
He
it
made fun
sounds
of me,
like.
the worst of everybody,
Yeah.
and still does. He's very good at it, and I love him for it.
Interesting. Yeah. Jean, have you made any of the recipes?
Oh, I'm a terrible cook. I just write cookbooks. I don't really cook well.
So you're perfect to help edit the cookbook and kind of dumb it
Exactly.
down.
I-
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
that dumb audience I was talking about before. Yeah. I
Yeah.
need to have everything explained to me. So I try now and then, but um, the I live 3 blocks from Pura Vita. If I
I was gonna say that. Yeah. 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 You've got a working game there. Yeah, I would. You're helping the local vegan economy as well. Yeah. So
absolutely, I
perfect.
eat as a product of my generosity.
Right, right.
We
Well,
need more
regarding
people
that,
like you, because it's not easy in this city right now
Yeah.
for
I
any of us
bet.
to
Yeah.
take
How are
early
the other
companies.
vegan places doing in the neighborhood?
A lot of places have closed down. Um, a lot of vegan places across the country have closed down, but I mean, of course, I am
Well, a
more
lot of
aware.
non-vegan places as well.
Yeah,
I don't want
Yeah,
to
exactly.
just,
yeah,
yeah.
but I think veganism kind of became, it had a moment, in the like in 18, 19, 20, and I think that it kind of has been taking a hit in the last year. I think, there's a new food pyramid. Did you read it? It's a meat pyramid.
Yeah.
So I think that's a problem for us. I think that that's problematic for vegan restaurants in general, but it'll come back around. We just
Oh,
need to
and
get through
another
this.
thing in LA, at least, I don't know elsewhere. Um, every restaurant now has vegan options. So used to be you had to go to a vegan restaurant, or
Mm,
you had to find a unusual restaurant that had vegan food. But now I
hmm
don't think I've been to another restaurant that didn't have vegan options.
Yeah,
So
that is
mm,
so true,
yeah,
which is
yeah.
great.
yeah.
But I'm one of
Yeah.
those
Which,
vegans who like wants to support other vegan businesses. And also
well,
the
I
cross
mean,
contamination thing is a little
Right.
yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, that just kind of validates your whole marketing vision of not explicitly marketing as a vegan restaurant, just as the best Italian place,
yeah.
in West
We'll stick to
Hollywood and all of LA and probably the world. So, yeah.
that.
So, all right. Well, it's been fascinating hearing from you both. I have a zillion more questions I could ask, but we'll narrow it down to just a few more. But you've both been, in this world for a long time, living as vegans, being made fun of, all that good stuff. Like in your eyes, how, two questions. How have you both evolved as vegans, during your time as vegan? And how would you say the vegan movement is doing these days? So just whatever comes to mind on either of those topics.
Gene?
Um, well, I mean, I love being vegan. I feel it's makes me feel good. I just love my relationship to the world, to the environment, to animals, and to my health. So I'm happy with it. I am sad that, as Sarah said, there was a moment where it looked like veganism was going to grow um, exponentially, and that hasn't happened. But I think all movements like this have their ups and downs and cycles. So I'm hopeful for the future. I hope there's a new food pyramid will come out in 2028, and the pyramid will get reversed once more. Um, I I still wish everybody was vegan. That's like if I had a wish, if somebody
Yeah.
appeared like a genie, that might be my first wish.
Yeah, there are at least 72 reasons to be vegan, is what I've
Exactly,
heard.
at least.
Yeah. So what about you, Tara? What's your take on both those subjects?
Well, I think I already sort of spoke on the second part of the question. I don't think that veganism is in a great place right now. I think a lot of people have fallen off. Um, I don't understand it, but everybody has their thing, and hopefully it comes back around. And I think it will come back around. But for me personally, I've just, you know, not literally lifelong, but it feels like I'm a lifelong vegan, and I don't feel like I've changed very much. If I'm being honest, I think
Mm-hmm.
um, I felt very strongly about the things I, feel from the time I was a teenager until right now. I don't think that anything has changed. I don't think it could be any stronger. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
literally the focal point of my whole life. It's my career. It's everything I talk about. It's what I write books about. I can't possibly put any more emphasis on it.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and I guess my goal just becomes clearer to me, that I want to be a bigger and better influence over, other people in the community, that maybe I can teach more about how to cook vegan,
Mm-hmm.
why to cook vegan, or just why you should love animals and the environment and your own body more than maybe we all need a little boost in that area sometimes, a reminder.
Mm-hmm.
So I just hope that I can, continuously be better at that. But my feelings about it haven't changed at all. So
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And in fact, I hear that from a lot of people, even people who haven't been vegan, from such an early age, expressed to me, and I feel this way as well, is that veganism kind of revealed who we always were. It was what we always were. We just didn't really know it, and this was the way to actually embody the things that always meant something to us, compassion and love of animals and caring for our bodies and caring for the world around us, and that
yeah,
feeling of interconnection. And it is very, very ironic to me that, vegans are the butt of jokes, and that we're the ones made fun of. We're the ones apologizing for being high maintenance and, difficult. Like it's hilarious if it weren't so, problematic what was happening to the non-human animals.
yeah.
Um, but final
For the
question for
record, I
you.
never apologize.
Yeah,
I am
yeah,
not
no,
apologetic about being
I
vegan.
don't. Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm with you there. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't
I mean, I'll
apologize
just as
either.
soon not eat, but I'll
Yeah,
not
yeah. I mean,
apologize for it.
I'm very big on that as well. Like, just in the sense that, like, I'm not the victim.
Exactly.
I'm the one person in the room that is the best off. Like you don't have to worry about there not being anything I can eat. Like I'm fine.
Yeah.
You're the ones who need to worry about, the toxins you're putting in your body, looking yourself in the mirror, shutting down your innate compassion on a regular basis, and yeah, all of that. So yeah, I'm totally with you there. I genuinely feel like I'm the lucky one. We're the lucky ones. We most certainly are not the victims. Or,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But Tara, do you feel, have you ever just, you know, been concerned about how this would affect your trajectory in the restaurant world, the chef world?
How what would affect it?
Being vegan, just did you ever think, okay, I want to be a professional chef, and this is going to hold me back, or this is going to prevent me from networking in the way that I otherwise might, or anything along those lines?
Uh, Absolutely not, because it's the reason why I'm a chef.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I would have
yeah,
done something else otherwise. Like, I
yeah. No, that
probably,
made I had a feeling that's how you might answer. Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's the whole motivation for everything I do. So,
Right.
yeah, I
Right.
think it could only, as far as a trajectory, it can only get stronger and more enforced. And hopefully I'll have more things to tell you about next time I talk to you. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's definitely never been questioned.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense to me, 100%. All right. Well, final question that I pose to all my guests. And so I'll pose it to both of you. Whoever has an answer first can just chime in. But is there a particular word that for you sums up what being vegan is all about?
Oh, that's a good question.
One word.
One word, or it can be a phrase if you must.
Hmm.
Reality.
Ooh, ooh. Say a little more about that.
I don't know. I mean, I just like animals are. Would you slit your dog's throat and put him on the barbecue? That's reality. They're
I
the
would go
same.
with I would go with appropriate, because I think being vegan is the appropriate way to be.
Those are such funny juxtapositions to me. You know, the Italian, Italian American New Yorker reality, and then the editor,
Gene has a nicer way of
appropriate,
approaching
yeah.
things.
Both similar kind of concepts and
Yeah.
mindsets, but one much more in your face than the other. Yeah. 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 Perfect. Well,
We're a good
again,
balance.
yes, perfect. Yeah, I can see why you would collaborate well together. So, all right. And what's the best place for people to get your book? And is there anything else that you'd like to suggest in terms of how people can follow your work beyond the book?
Well, if you're in the LA area, the best place to get the book is at the restaurant, Pura
Oh,
Vita, which is in
yes.
West Hollywood on Santa Monica Boulevard. Otherwise, you can buy it anywhere books are sold. You can buy it online. You could buy it in your local bookstore. Should hopefully not be difficult to find. Um, and if you want to follow along with the story from this point forward, um, Instagram is always a good way to do it if you're a social media person. My personal Instagram is Chef Tara Punzone, and the restaurant page is Pura Vita with a T, PURAVITA underscore LA. That's the Instagram page for the restaurant. So
Perfect.
all
And
book
well,
related and restaurant related things are happening on those sites, and also some fun stuff too. And
okay.
never hurts throwing
Okay.
a little comedy here
Awesome.
and
Yeah.
there.
Well, we'll certainly include all that information in the show notes. And Jean, what's next for you?
Um, Another book about veganism, for veganism, with a vegan.
Yeah. And hopefully some delicious food that other people cook for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, may that be all our fates. Although Tara, I guess you like to cook your own food, so
I
yeah.
do. I do like to be cooked for too.
Okay.
It doesn't
Okay.
always happen very
Okay.
often, but I get really excited when it does happen.
Okay. Okay. Nice. So we'll put that there out there as well. All right. Well, again, thank you so much. I can't wait to someday try Pura Vita, and
Yeah, I hope you can come visit the restaurant
I hope so too.
someday.
Yes. Yes.
And
Put that
thank
out
you.
there too.
Thank
So,
you for having us today. This is really nice.
well, likewise for me. And lovely to meet you both. And we close every episode of the Vegan Posse by taking 30 seconds of silence for all the suffering animals, human and non-human, who desire, as we all do, safety, happiness, and the freedom to live out their lives without interference. So Tara and Jean, I invite you to join me in 30 seconds of silence for the animals, and we'll conclude with the sound of the bell. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Jean.
Thank you.
See you next time. Until then, stay strong and stay true.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My
Bye.
pleasure. Bye.